People often, if they compliment my work, it's not uncommon that an engineer will compliment that they love the nice dark quality of it. And these days I feel like the trend is things are getting brighter and brighter, and occasionally I get a little insecure about my dark sensibility and if that still feels relevant, you know, in these times. But I also know how important it is to just stick to your own sensibilities and the way that I hear things. So I usually get myself in trouble if I just start brightening it just to try to make it sit nice alongside whatever's hot at the moment. I'm Tucker Martine. We're at my new studio that's not quite finished yet. This will be its 5th and final incarnation. Never moving studios again. But I produce and engineer records. I started putting together that this guy Daniel Lanois' name was on all these records, and I felt this kind of atmospheric quality that they all had in common, even though musically they were all kind of worlds apart. And that's when I started paying closer attention to the credits, and it occurred to me that this producer, whatever the hell that is, like, it's got something to do with this like intangible quality that I have no idea how they're making it or where it comes from, but I want to know more about that. But that was when I realized that, like, I want to play drums, but I also love manipulating sounds, and but also I love songwriting, and like, God, do I have to pick one of these things? And then I started to figure out that a producer was somebody who could put all those things together. That's kind of how it all started, was with a 4-track, and then kind of having my mind blown about messing with tape speeds and tape directions and like little outboard reverbs and stuff. And it was almost an accident, really, that I ended up recording some friends' bands just because they knew I had some stuff. And then another friend asked me to record their band, and then it's, you know, the recordings got a little bit better and people kept asking me, and, you know, I've been making records ever since. But my first love for recording equipment really is composition and experimenting with the stuff, and, you know, running effects into each other or back into themselves, and just like seeing what will happen. I've pretty much always had my own studio. When I moved to Seattle, I wrote letters to all the studios in town, you know, nice stationery, and tried to make myself sound professional. And I'd stop by with a tie on and drop them off, trying to get somebody to give me a chance to scrub the toilets and just be an intern and learn the ways. But nobody got back to me, so I got a job at a bar and just bit by bit bought one piece of equipment at a time. You know, I think Sennheiser 421 was the first real mic that I saved up and bought. I came down to Portland when I was invited to make a record with the Decemberists. I had been living in Seattle, and I came down to spend a few weeks making a record, and just fell in love with the place. Had a blast making records with the band, and then they invited me to make a second record, and Seattle was just kind of getting too big. The artists were all getting run out because it was getting too expensive, and a lot of the funky stuff that was there when I fell in love with the place was falling by the wayside. Depending on how many sounds you have to get to fit in to the space, you only have this much space to work with. And to make that sound spacious and open and breathe, it gets harder the more dense a mix is. I find that, you know, I have to reserve the like super widescreen thing for 1 or 2 sounds, and then other things kind of get moved around, or maybe everything else is at the center, depending on what it is. Also, I just really like contrast of dirty things and really clean, pristine, beautiful things, and just figuring out what gets to be what. To be building a recording studio in 2018, which is turning out to take a long time and cost a lot of money, and sometimes feels kind of crazy because I know everyone can like get their buddy with a laptop and make a record as well. But so as many ways as this studio can have something really unique. I mean, we'll have a fantastic sounding live room that can be really roomy, but it can also be tight and focused. But a reverb chamber will give me a fantastic sounding reverb that can only get here, because I also know that, you know, we're all using the same plugins, and even though I've got an EMT 140 plate and it's fantastic and they all sound a little different, it's still kind of like the thing that a lot of people have, and which is great and I love it, but I'm excited to have a room that I can use on any source for reverb that's just completely unique to this place. So I'm a big proponent of just do it all the time. Just make recordings, and if you really connect with a piece of equipment, then stick with that. You can do a lot with just a few really useful pieces of gear, and figure out what's unique about you. Don't try to make records that sound like other people's records, because there's no shortage of somebody that can just record a record for somebody. But you know, if you have your own kind of unique take on record making, then you're more likely to have a career and to enjoy that career.